afternoon, everyone. I'm immensely thankful to the organizers, Unicef, Press Club Kolkata, St. Xavier's University, Kolkata, for having me on board. I'm missing being there physically, as I know that many brilliant scholars are attending the event, and I could have had an interesting conversation during the deliberation with many of them. Anyway, we'll wait for another occasion for the same. Today, I'm going to discuss on the way media projects gender in a nutshell. As we all know, media is a significant contributor to the development of gender biased ideas among consumers. It influences people in shaping their identities, forming cultural practices, and introducing them to unknown social practices from across the globe. Communication, largely unstructured in the old days, is accessible anytime and anywhere in structured formats by stories across traditional and new age media platforms. Since its inception, media has tremendously influenced and shaped people's perceptions. Media has become an inevitable part of people's lives, with decision making power shifting from personal needs to market trends and global trends. Many studies showed that media has contributed to making society consumer oriented and self centered. Much of what audiences know and care about is based on the images, symbols, and narratives showcased by radio, television, film, music, and other media. And yes, we do know that media has grabbed the sole power of deciding how individuals construct their social identities and how they come to understand what it means to be rich, poor, male, female, transgender, rural, or urban, and such. Through the commodification of information, media produce content for their audiences, catering to the social conditioning and social construction they represent. This implies different content for men, women, youth, seniors, and similar, catering to the outlook and perceptions of the groups in general. In short, media is central to what has ultimately come to represent our social realities. It is an integral part of today's lifestyle. We are all consumers of either print, electronic, or social media. It has been noted that with continued technological advancements and thus the evolution of media platforms and channels, media can be expected to strengthen its impact on readers or viewers. Given the pivotal position of media in shaping the culture and social practices of our lives, it becomes pertinent to understand the media's portrayal of gender. While sex is differentiated and transformed biologically, gender is a social construct influenced by the deep roots of how society and individuals, as the active constituents of society, define gender. Culture is constantly evolving, through which people acquire, circulate, and accommodate their fellow beings. As life progresses, culture, society, and people also move on. Media takes a role in defining the travel of culture and its survival in society as transporters. It is from media that we learn and understand what culture was prior to our times, what the culture is for people and whom we do not get to meet often or ever, and what would be the future culture. Sapital stated, gender is a social construct. There should be an extensive inquiry into how media forms the social constructs of gender. My deliberation looks into how gender is portrayed in media and how much gender representations can influence the audience. My deliberation also tries to examine representations across print, broadcast, and internet-enabled social media. Each category has been discussed in a nutshell to understand how gender is showcased in each of them. Now, I would like to begin with print media. Newspapers, magazines, newsletters, or literary works constitute print media. In general, information printed on materials like paper and distributed in terms print media. It is known that the ability to reach the targeted audience faster is comparatively less for print media than other forms of digital media. The impacts of print media on society have always been identified and studied by scholars worldwide. Gender role stereotyping and sexism in print media is not a low profile gender issue, as printed communication and content still hold an important place in the contemporary digital world. Such representations of gender in print media become more impactful as the print media, though it travels slow, has chances of higher existence in hard formats in society, as quoted by Professor Shahidullah in a study with his colleagues. All forms of the print medium, even posters or pamphlets which carry the advertisements of movies and other information, reinforce the gendered worldview of society. Greenwood mentioned in 2010 that print media delivers messages not only through written text, but also through pictures, especially images in advertisements. Photographs in news reports, movie posters, pamphlets, and any other medium have the potential to carry a quantum of information which would have been difficult to express in words. The representation of female employees in print media has been witnessing a drastic decline over the years across the globe. It has been found by the same study that print media, especially news media, prefers to employ male candidates more than female candidates. Thus, when the workforce becomes dominantly male represented, there are chances for the medium's output to take the form of male perspective in gender representation. Studies on images of women in print media show that majority of the way men reports news on women appears somewhat skewed towards their perception of women. Thus, news reports such as women excelling sports, politics, or entertainment always contain reports about their family life, their marriages and kids more than successful men. When analyzing the kinds of news being reported on men, women, and other genders in a year as a part of a study conducted in Pakistan recently, it has been found that more news like rape, murder, burglary, acid attacks, etc., were prevalent on women. In the case of men and other genders, these kinds of news were reported, but success stories, leadership stories, etc., were also equivalently reported in the case of men, as found by the same study. The daily newspapers rarely highlight and report women's news and their success. Nevertheless, on Saturdays and Sundays, special glossy editorials on women's leisure, fashion, beauty, and other luxurious news items with erotic photographs are issued from time to time by daily newspapers. Throughout history, the content of gender stereotypes against the LGBTQIA plus community has changed concerning historical changes in how people accept those communities. However, whether the media has changed how LGBTQIA plus communities are represented is still questioned. In the newspaper, one might see news reports on male and female personalities celebrating different success stories, but such instances are very rare in case of the LGBTQIA plus communities. This could be because of the lack of such reports or also the media showing less interest in covering such stories. Using LGBTQIA plus related news reports in order to gain more subscribers or readership has also been noticed nowadays. The way print media showcases LGBTQIA plus communities and creates an imprint on society is more harmful as the chances of print media existing in society as hard evidence are greater than other forms of media. When media becomes an inevitable part of society and culture, what is conveyed through them also becomes crucial as such ideas could travel through generations and generations. How the newspapers have reported LGBTQIA plus stories in the past is still available for us to see, and it will be in front of the coming generations too. So, the print media should take necessary precautions to prevent negative ideas which could create gender imbalance from propagating through generations. Even if the propagation of printed material is prevented, ideas contained inside such stories cannot be prevented from being transmitted. It might be possible to prevent a book from being continued to be printed or stop the circulation of newspapers, but it is never possible to completely prevent ideas and messages from moving one mind to another. Now, I would like to discuss about the gender representation in broadcast media. Communication platforms such as television, radio, podcasts, etc., which are recorded and broadcasted using satellite signals, are known as broadcast media. We all know these are the products of digitalization, a byproduct of advanced scientific inventions from the world of technology. Everything is rapidly evolving, including the platforms we receive information from. When information gets the potential of reaching minds faster, it becomes more impactful. At the same time, wrong information or ideas traveling in such momentum could create a lot of negative externalities. Unlike print media, broadcast media has a stated potential to travel faster. Hence, it should be analyzed with great caution. This section analyzes how, I mean, the one I will going to tell you how broadcast media influences people's views on gender. Examining the images of women in broadcast media, Collins once argued that women's images are designed to reinforce sexism and make traditional gendered roles appear natural and normal. When it comes to movies, very strong gender stereotype messages such as it is the sole responsibility of women to take care for the family members, of the family members are visible. From the understanding of the social theory that gender is socially constructed, a large part of its perception relies on the observation of re-established models on television and in films. Film mediums are a great field for examining the impact of gender-based stereotyping and representations. Bollywood movies such as Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, Badrinath Ki Dulhaniya, Sahu, Dabang, where the audience, there are lots actually. I'm mentioning a few, where the audience can see visible sexism and misogyny have become blockbuster hits. We have got this in article in recently in 2021 by Mukhopadhyay. So where it has been stated clearly, in such family-oriented movies where the targeted audience is a family, women are usually shown as caretakers, ones who cook and serve food, and those who don't eat or drink until their husbands come back home from outside. This kind of representation creates an image of women being suppressive and obedient to the men of the family. If we take Indian movies as examples, in South Indian movies like Gilli, Sami, Kandaswamy, Bahubali, Lucifer, and others, one can identify the deeply rooted sense of patriarchy in them. Male heroes are often represented as hegemonic masculine figures responsible for the care and protection of the heroine. Movies like Ranchana and lots, like they narrate toxic romantic relationships in which female partners are being pursued like some achievements. In all these movies, it is portrayed in a way such that much of the financial responsibilities are vested with men in the family, making men the quote unquote family man, and women always the ones who cook, who clean, and take care of the family members. The deeply rooted traits of patriarchy, given in the form of messages to society, often create a burden for the men too. Let us consider another movie from Malayalam film industry, Vajidar. This movie is a story of a family in which there are five men and all of them are married and have children. From the beginning to the end, one sees the men going out doing business, earning money, and occasionally fighting with other men to show their heroism. Meanwhile, the family confined women undertake kitchen chores, prepare meals, and take care of the needs of the men and kids. Throughout the movie, the female characters come to the dining table, serve food to their husbands, and leave for the kitchen. They are allowed to have food once their husbands are done with their meals and dining table discussions. Some of the issues arising in the movie put immense pressure on the men to solve them, but even if the issue seems to be solved with any average human brain, it is not all discussed with the women of the family. Altogether, the entire pressure of carrying out business and other critical decision-making processes gets entitled to the men only. Society puts immense pressure to get a job, excel in a career, make money, and be the breadwinner for the family on a man right from the beginning of a young age, as it is what is portrayed as normal and common in movies. In a study, it has been stated that the influence of media in creating a negative identity for people from the LGBTQIA plus community has been increasing over the past few years. When in movies, the people from the trans community are shown in only a few limited roles, it creates an image which conveys to the audience indirectly that their lives are of less concern, and this indirectly paves the way to prejudiced judgments on the trans community outside the realm. Against all the odds, movies like Ardhanari, Malayalam movie, which speaks about transgender people, have given screen presence to the trans community, but such experiments with transgender people in media are limited to roles which require a transgender story to be portrayed. There are also movies in which people from the LGBTQIA plus community are portrayed as funny characters or characters in the negative role. One such instance could be seen in the Tamil movie I. The trans character plays the role of the villain who tries to attack the hero. Another best example to point this out in the Malayalam movie Sutradharan, in which a supporting actor who is a male disguises himself to the public as a trans person in order to beg for money. Here, the movie plot uses the pathetic situation of trans people to gain more viewership. There are scenes in which the supporting actors try to imitate trans people and beg for money and end up being beaten by the public. Such toxic scenes create a very unhealthy imbalance of gender equality among the viewers. Another movie, Chantupattu, has the protagonist Radha Krishnan, nicknamed Radha, who is not a transgender person ever. But there is an attempt to, to show Radha Krishnan in that way, who was born after his grandmother's wish of having a girl child into a female instead of a male, despite him being a boy. In plain sight, the movie shows the central role played by a character who is transgender. The film deals with how society behaves with such a personality. In close scrutiny, any audience with average common sense could find that The marginalized approach to transgenders by the people in our common social environment can be reflected in the movie. In particular scenes, the protagonist is made fun of in front of his relatives and neighbors who ask him to be manly, quote unquote manly. In one of the scenes, the heroine herself advises the protagonist to change his identity to a male and start to embrace his male body, as she believes that being born as a woman is a curse and being born with a male body is the biggest blessing one could ever ask for. The movie, released in 2005, cannot be considered too old, but when we reach 2022, the attitudinal changes are visible not from every corner but can be treated as existential in both the real life. Though the family of the protagonist in the movie does not support the viewpoint of society, there is an influence on the individual that affects their lives. Today, society has examples of people who are eager to live without fear for the rest of their lives. And yes, movies can be credited for bringing such positive changes in society, but still there have to be huge makeshift alternations in the broadcasting media. The series named Made in Heaven, which was aired on the OTT platform on Amazon Prime, was able to bag the tagline of the top 10 viewed, series in India. This series had a protagonist who is a gay person and an owner of a wedding planning company. The series was revolutionary in providing a huge role to a gay personality, but at the same time, there were some dangerous elements with the storyline of the series. Like in most of the series and movies here, the gay person was shown to be facing issues and struggles. What we could see from the series is a gay person who is struggling immensely to lead a normal life. Is this how all gay people are leading their lives? Is this particular person having any issues from life which any other gendered person could not have in their life? The problem is when a male or female having normal life issues that anyone else could have been facing is not highlighted much. But at the same time, if a gay person or any other representative of the LGBTQIA plus community faces even a small financial issue, it becomes a great tragedy, implying that their life is already a mess and this adds to it. Such kinds of the emotionally hyped and tragic portrayal of LGBTQIA plus lives on the screen creates an image of a sad and dull life for them. Next, I would like to discuss about the internet or the social media and the gender representation. In the current age of frequently evolving technologies, social media, with the advent of internet connection easily available at the ends of each and everyone's fingertips, has become an inevitable part of life. It won't be wrong if someone says that every man starts their daily life with social media and ends the day with the same. According to a research conducted by Canadian communication theorist Marshall McLuhan on the impact of social media and other web media on framing gender perceptions, social media not only gives people information and lively entertainment, but also affects people's lives by shaping their opinion, attitudes, and beliefs. Unlike other media, which also affect people's views on gender, social media or the internet media will have much influence as it is fast evolving with a variety of platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. Gender equality also means that equal opportunities are available for all genders, not just men and women. Gender equality also caters to the definition of people from all genders receiving the same recognition and respect without being neglected. The recent hashtag movements on Instagram from the state of Kerala, quoting tags like, hashtag we have legs, hashtag women have legs, show that women are being humiliated on social media for wearing clothes according to their comfort. Moral policing of women and commenting on their posts abusively is evident on social media nowadays. This indirectly states that internet media still projects the notion that women should always cater to a patriarchal society's needs, rules, and regulations. Having explored all these things, it is pertinent to look at how men are portrayed across social media and online media channels. A recent report from different online platforms shows that social media platforms for men who don't cater to the socially accepted norms of being a man have been unsupportive. A 9-year-old boy was trolled and bullied over his Twitter account for choosing to wear lipstick. As the information available on the social media platforms as content could be stated as a reflection of the society, one could say that gender inequality exists prevalently on the internet media. As in the same way, women are bullied, harassed, or tortured over the internet for not catering to the needs of particular patriarchal values, men are also mocked for not being manly enough. This is an after effect of how men are being showcased and on the internet medium. On one hand, on side, movie heroes and sports stars receive likes, comments, and hearts over the internet for flaunting their masculine bodies. On the other side, we could see a 9-year-old boy being tortured and harassed for choosing to express his likeness towards something. Thus, it is evident that how the internet media exposes men affects people's view on gender or how a particular gender should look like. In a recent study by Evelyn, it has been mentioned that internet platforms have become very toxic places of bullying, personal attacks, and public shaming for people from LGBTQIA plus communities across the world. This study was conducted to identify the trends in cyberbullying against people from the LGBTQIA plus community worldwide. They analyzed literature from over 30 countries and classified the results into underdeveloped, developing, and developed countries. Irrespective of the category, the LGBTQIA plus community has faced more online violence than other genders. The study also states that most of the information has faced more online violence than other genders. The study also states that most of the information being broadcasted in the form of pictures, audio clips, and video clips posted by people from other genders were to the extent of bullying or attempting to mock the people from the LGBTQIA plus community. Now, to conclude, what I have attempted is to examine how media influences society through different portrayals of different genders. Try to summarize how three broad different categories of media show gender and influence people's perception of gender. Distinguishable traits of male supremacy or highlighting the male gender as the dominant, superior were found throughout the literature review. Irrespective of the medium, male supremacy is visibly evident in all the mediums. In most cases, other genders have been forced to oblige to socially accepted norms. Comparative analysis of how different genders is imaged in media leads to a state that throughout the years, there has been an irreplaceable role played by media in conveying the supremacy of the male gender over others. Telecasting movies, serials, and other shows which portray that women should always be under the control of men has negatively impacted the gender balance in society. The study also, I am mentioning the study which I just, talked about, the 2022 study, also found that more than just a man image, media supports hegemonic masculinity. And the same media, when a man fails to fit into the framework of hegemonic masculinity, shames and sends them to the core, demanding them to groom themselves and transform into socially acceptable men. This framework of an ideal man could includes all dimensions like body features, certain likes, and other manly responsibilities endowed by society. Despite strong movements across the globe to reduce the imbalance between the genders, media still continues to be dominated by men. Providing equal representation in what is conveyed through any media is an easy roadmap toward reducing gender disparity. The persistence of this gender disparity in media platforms, even though the world has witnessed very fast digitalization, calls for the inefficiency of media to accommodate new forms of gender neutrality. While reviewing the solutions for reducing this gender disparity in the media platforms, it was found that gender imbalances and challenges have alternative solutions, among which stakeholder engagements with media management and reporters, presenters on the relevance of gender responsiveness should be promoted. Whether it is the people who don't show interest in being an audience for a gender neutral media platform, or is it the media which is unwilling to supply the audience with gender neutral content, should be studied explicitly for making better policy suggestions. Media and policymakers should engage equally in developing and enforcing specific gender policies that encourage gender responsiveness in media, to elevate women's visibility in media and eliminate stereotypical reinforcements about women. Studies are also pointing out that female representation and using female presence to show gender neutral contents are more beneficial when it comes to reducing the gender unequal messages to the society. But the importance of using men to convey gender equality has not been completely neglected. There should be an active engagement on the part of media stakeholders in order to provide the audience with more gender responsible and gender balancing content. All media platforms should become more gender responsible and prevent themselves from providing gender insensitive content. The policymakers can come up with solutions which use technical expertise like sorting and removing gender insensitive content on platforms, especially social media platforms. And cyber police will have a huge role to play in this regard. While working towards making a gender sensible media platform, one should keep in mind that they have a huge responsibility in not only just catering to the gender balancing needs of the coming generation alone, but also to make the previous and present generation unlearn and relearn what they have been pursuing through media. This is going to be a challenging duty upon the stakeholders as well as the policymakers, but is very much necessary for bringing sustainable gender equality in which the gender views of the future are also balanced. I would like to stop here, and I would also like to get responses, comments, even questions on my deliberation. And if anyone wants to know the references I have mentioned here, so I can share it with them also. So please do write to the organizers. I hope they will contact me for all such things. Thank you.